Tom DeLonge's project Angels Airwaves has been going through some interesting developments over the last few years. The band started off as a way for Tom DeLonge to essentially flex his ego out by creating very U2-esque songs that, although he considered to be important and groundbreaking, weren't too original or anything special. But the band have evolved and are actually doing interesting things now. I've always been a big fan of the band. I love their music, even if, as I said, it's not too original. But with their Love project, they expanded out and started doing more things that were actually exciting and new. Their most recent multimedia project, Poet Anderson, is currently in the midst of its evolution. In 2014, we got an absolutely fantastic album, The Dreamwalker, which is honestly one of the best things Tom DeLonge has ever done, as well as the accompanying short animated movie, Poet Anderson, The Dreamwalker. And now we have the most recent installment in the project with Poet Anderson of Nightmares. This part of the project saw the release of a book co-written by Tom DeLonge, as well as a brand new EP called Of Nightmares, containing 4 brand new songs from the band. The EP carries on a lot of the sounds and styles that we saw introduced on The Dreamwalker. That album brought back some of the sounds from their first 2 albums, but also at the same time evolved the band into something they'd never been before. The lyrics stopped being lackluster and no longer were the songs just rip-offs of U2 and Radiohead songs. This new EP very much links into that album perfectly, but is also a lot more experimental and shows more progression for the band too. There are a lot of weird drony synth sounds in there. One of the things I've always loved about the band is when they bring in these weird textures and noises and somehow make them sound melodic and natural. There are also some really interesting guitar parts in there too, for example the song Home, which brings in this very aggressive sounding guitar part during the bridge. Yet somehow this aggressive guitar part fits really well with the song, which is not aggressive at all. It starts off very soft and quiet and builds up into this epic grandiose composition, but it also never breaks away from that softness. It's a really interesting track. We also have Into the Night, which is without a doubt my favourite track on the EP. This song is fantastic, incredibly catchy and fun, but yet has a sinister sound to it, especially with the minor chord progression in the verses. The song View From Below is an incredibly different song, really unlike anything the band have ever done before. It's got the quietness and softness of something like Kiss From a Spell from The Dreamwalker. It has a chord progression which is not entirely original, but they managed to do something very different with it. The melodies on this track are so good, really unique, and unlike anything I've ever heard. I love how the verse is very soft and then the chorus comes in, which is a lot louder, and then it goes back into the verse in a very natural way. It doesn't slowly switch between the two, they just kind of blend into each other, which in a lot of songs wouldn't work, but here it really does. The final track on the EP, Parasomnia, starts off with this incredibly weird electronic sounding intro. It sounds like it's going to crash into this loud dance song, but it doesn't, at least not until later on in the song. There is a very creepy, sinister sounding piano sound that comes in. In fact, this song has a haunting sound throughout the entire thing. The song is very strange but interesting. Again, it's unlike anything I've ever heard. It's a somber piece that is hauntingly beautiful. Then it crashes into this loud song that sounds like it could have been used in some old horror game like Resident Evil or something. In fact, the whole song could be like that. It's mostly instrumental, so it could definitely fit in a video game. The whole EP is technically a soundtrack for the accompanying novel, similar to how their previous EP was a soundtrack for the Love movie. And this song definitely sounds like it could work if there was some weird visuals going along with it. After the loud section of the song, it goes back to the soft intro. The progression of the song is very interesting and different. The vocals don't come in until the end of the song and are heavily filtered and creates this atmospheric sound to the song, especially the end of the song. It's a great way to end it. And then there's a minute of silence for some reason. I don't know, let's just pretend that isn't in it. As a whole, this EP is a very interesting release for the band. It's incredibly experimental and unique. It makes The Dreamwalker look like simply a stepping stone for the new direction for the band that is slowly going to progress over the next few releases. If that is the case, I absolutely cannot wait. Tom DeLonge's songwriting seems to finally be going in the direction that he thought it had gone a long time ago. He seemed to think that everything he was making was gold, but it really wasn't. I love every album they've done, but when it comes to their love albums, they were starting to simply become more of a guilty pleasure for me. I can't call those albums quality albums. But the Dreamwalker proved them to be a competent band that could write great songs, and this EP shows that off perfectly. Ilan Rubin was the best thing to happen to the band. This EP, as short as it may be, is honestly one of the best things to come from the band and contains some of the best music I've heard so far this year. And because of that, I have to give Angels Airwaves' new EP of Nightmares a 10 out of 10.